Welcome to a new episode of Talking Area 51. I am your host, 51 Spade. And yeah, man, we got to talk about this P. Diddy documentary, Sean Combs' The Reckoning. I had to take notes on this. I finished all of the parts. Ain't no way that we couldn't cover this. I definitely had to do this so I could take down the notes just to see how we really wanted to cover this. And before we actually get started with that, we're going to watch a little clip of just the... Let's just take a look at the clip, and then we're going to tackle a couple of things that they're talking about in the clip.
Tonight, the new Netflix docuseries Sean Combs' The Reckoning is out and making headlines.
Taking 8 nuclear bombs, you know what I'm saying, straight to the head. And I'm tired of going back and forth with y'all, with the lawyers. That's just not true. Okay, so.
With never-before-seen footage of the former hip-hop kingmaker from the days leading up to his 2024 arrest.
I'm not a referee. So I'm gonna get off the phone right now. Listen to me. I'm gonna get off the phone right now, and I am gonna let you professionals look at the situation and come back to me with a solution. No matter what nobody said. Let's just here and there. Y'all are not working together the right way. We're losing.
Combs' legal team says Netflix is relying on stolen footage, even sending a cease and desist to the streamer ahead of its release, calling it a shameful hit piece. Something the documentary's director, Alexandria Stapleton, denied in a statement on Monday, saying that they, quote, lawfully obtained the footage.
Hey, yo, you think we can hire an editor?
Behind the series is executive producer Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, who recently sat down with NBC News alongside Stapleton.
How did you get that footage of Diddy?
I figured most journalists would not disclose their sources.
50 Cent did not appear worried about potential legal action from Combs.
Zero concern about that. There's maybe the last 3 documentaries, you would have said the same thing to that. Last 3 that exist, you know.
The project, which took over a year to make, includes interviews from Combs' inner circle.
I began to see the ugliness and the nature of him as a human being. That came from me seeing the only thing he cared about was himself.
We really tried to chronicle the ecosystem that he created and to give people a very well-rounded perspective. I don't think that the time was really given to really look underneath the hood.
One of those interviews.
And the reason why I wanted to start with that is, first of all, because when you talking about social media and you know, just the noise that's going around the documentary, there are a lot of people that's kind of like, hey, 50 Cent was his rival. He making this out of malice and this and that. And I'm kind of like to the point where I'm just like, people like playing a lot for some strange reason, because we all know that if we're talking about looking at something for entertainment value, majority of people, we look at things that is full of drama. So we're trying to talk from the standpoint of that versus morals, morale, the right thing to do, mind your business, the whole nine. I even saw a tweet from Dame Dash that was like, oh, there he go trying to tear down another black man. And I'm just like, in a situation like that, you're throwing stones because you have done the exact same thing to Jay when Jay was dealing with R. Kelly. You were looking at it from a moral standpoint, just saying that R. Kelly was wrong because Aaliyah was your girlfriend at that point in time. So you can't give me this spiel about 50 Cent is doing it for whatever reason. It's business. It's out there. And now just to dig into the documentary a little bit, I don't think that it was painted. I don't think it was painted at all to say, hey, look at this or look at that. I just think that the obtained footage that they actually have is him. It's not being narrated. It's not like, what do you think? It's actually just him. And you getting to see him as a person and who he actually is. It's a 4-part series. It starts off with him growing up and just his early days of him losing his father, what it was like of him growing up, dealing with his mom, the things that went on in their household, growing up with, what was the guy named Kurt Burrows, and him losing his father at an early age, and just the exploitation films they used to see, look at, and then him being a dancer and then wanting to pursue a career in entertainment, and just saying that he always knew he wanted to be in the entertainment field. There's transitioning right into Andre Harrell, and then talking about their relationships and how he admired him and the things that he would do to get in his good graces, because he was the gateway in to Uptown. He had Heavy D and the Boys, and he just wanted to be a part of that and help groom that. And initially he became an A&R there, and from there he has Jodeci, he has Mary J. Blige, and he's developing the sound of them and the style of them, and he's young, and just giving you an insight of what he looks at when he is developing. Because there's a lot of people that's like, well, he really don't produce like that. He does. I don't want to take anything away from Diddy, because he does have the magic as far as like inside his mind, how to bring that creativity to the forefront, bring it to the records. He has a vision, and most people don't know how to execute that vision. So I'll never take that away from him. And something, now there are things in the documentary that are well publicized, and there are a couple of things in there that I actually didn't know, which I was kind of shocked about, because I was going, even in the process of looking at this, I was like, I know they're probably going to say some things, especially when I found out that they have footage that you hadn't seen. And from my understanding of just the lawsuit themselves, and right now his lawyers have sent a cease and desist to Netflix. But Netflix, man, at this point in time, they have money. I'm quite sure they did everything the legal way. As you can see from 50 Cent, I have zero concern with that. So really, at the end of the day, I think it was his pompous behavior. And also, sometimes when you get money and you feel like you godlike, you know, he wanted to paint the narrative of my understanding. He was doing a documentary, but when he found out he couldn't have creative control, he backed out of it. But of my understanding, the guy who actually did the footage wasn't paid for the footage, and wasn't paid really at all. And you're going to see how this full circle. Remember I said this in the beginning, because you're going to see how this plays out in full circle as I'm talking about this. But in the documentary, Eric Sermon, I was actually shocked to see, and the connection right there, because I really didn't even realize that they had a connection, and his connection to Misa, and Misa being one of the women that he dealt with in his life, that he pursued. And Kim Porter, obviously we knew. I think I semi knew that. Well, yeah, I did know that she was with Albie Shore, but I didn't know like how that whole thing played out. And even to hear Albie say, you know, I get it. If you're gonna mess with him, you jokingly saying, well, hey, if you're gonna marry him, and because he's gonna be rich. So saying it is a joke, and lo and behold, that's what she actually did. But they talked about the abuse that was going on with her and him and their relationship, but still saying that she stood up to it, not as a lay down, but she was willing to fight. And unfortunately, rest in peace to her. And then also reliving the Tupac and Biggie scenario all over again with a little bit more insight. Now, this story has been told, and I don't think anything in the documentation of this series was anything surprisingly new, except for the Keefe D proper that he gave to say, hey, Puff gave the go ahead, put a hit on Suge Knight and Pac's head for $1 million. And just their relationship alone, just to give a little background, because it didn't start at the source of wars. You know, their beef started way before then, and they gave a little bit more insight, just like with Eric Sermon, going back to this again, him being friends with Misa, Puffy being jealous of their friendship, wanting her all into the side because he wanted to groom her. The same thing with Albie Shore and Kim Porter. She was with him, and then him going after Kim Porter. And then here we go again, that Suge was dealing with somebody in Atlanta, and he went after her. So it was kind of funny to me, because I'm like this motherfucker have a pattern, you know what I'm saying? And it's dealing with women and stealing them on top of that, and backdooring people and thinking there's not gonna be karma that come with that, because every action has a reaction. So I just kind of thought that was kind of interesting. But the start of that came from that, and that's nothing to really tussle with. But then when he had a party, I guess Suge goes there because he wanted to talk to him, confront him about that. He goes there with his friend Jake, and then his friend is murdered while he's there. And that is the actual start of that whole East Coast, West Coast war. To me, that's the start of it. And then obviously when you bring in Pac, and it's Pac and Biggie relationship, and he's jealous of that relationship that's being spoke about in the documentary itself. This thing was full of information, full of entertainment. Is wrote from that standpoint, but looking at that, and the thing that's crazy about that is me just being a hip hop fan. I was never really a fan of Diddy. I didn't ever deny his work or anything like that, or deny his artist, but I never was really a fan of that. And funny enough, like, me and my girl was talking about him, and I was like, I always got a bad vibe from him. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because they got into a situation where they was talking about Tupac, saying that he wanted to help him get money, and Pac was saying no. And to me, there's certain people who can see through certain things in business meetings, the character of a person, how they move. The same thing with 50 Cent, when he was like, he seems like he kind of feels out of scenario to kind of see how he wants to attack you. And if you see it coming, you typically will stay away from that. And yeah, he probably could help Pac get some money and snap, but Pac wasn't having it. And he was only interested in Biggie, and Biggie and Pac had a close relationship. And he was jealous of that, which I was like, wow, that's real funny. And like I said, he put a hit out on them, which moves me to the Keefe D scenario. Now, they actually on his proffer, he spoke about that. Now, that was information that I didn't know. I'm a Tupac fan, so every documentary, everything that was known as far as like that Tupac case, I did know, but I never had heard that footage of him actually snitching on himself. And they even said that they didn't give him a like immunity. So but now obviously he's on trial right now for next year for the murder of Tupac. The only ones that are pretty much left is like him and Suge. Obviously, Diddy has denied any involvement in that, but when they dig a little deeper, and even from the commentary that was going down from Kurt Burrows saying that he felt like he had something to do with it, even with the situation, to me, which I really found funny. And another interesting thing with that was saying that he was that was his friend, and how much he loved him and hated that happened to him, and he gonna miss him. And then when they got putting together the funeral, that he was saying, and this is not Diddy saying that, allegedly it's like Kurt saying that Diddy wasn't willing to pay for the funeral, and he was gonna recoup it to make Biggie pay for it. And I was just like, wow. And it makes me think about the Dave Chappelle show, when they be like, I never should have gave y'all niggas money, because it's like, it also shows the character of a person when you get out of control money, because that's what I call it. I call it like out of control money. When you get out of control money, some people may think they know how they will be or how they act, but when the smorgasbord is open to you, and you can just have whatever you want, any woman you want, go where you want to do, fly where you want to do, just do whatever you want to do. No one is telling you no. Everybody's singing your praises. Everybody love you. I don't really know if you know exactly how you'll be, but I know that a lot of people can get drunk off success. And there was moments in the documentary where he was saying, like, people think I got a lot of friends, but I don't. And then when you on Mount Everest by yourself, you're by yourself. And that's kind of one of the things that was there. But, just looking at his behavior, and going back to what I was saying, I just never, to me, I always thought myself he was the devil. Like, there was too many instances that happened that with the bad boy, the reputation that you see, and you had to really dig deep. I ain't talking about like no surface fan, but you know, contract disputes, artists that was leaving, which moves me on to the club shooting with Shine. And then even looking at that, how he didn't even protect Shine in that situation and didn't even do any time or anything like that. Didn't help with the lawyer. You know, they got separate lawyers, got Shine a bullshit lawyer. He got a top-notch lawyer, and just he did that 10 years for him. And I was just like, wow. And then from the Making the Band, look at, you know, what's happening with Making Band. Not only just Danny Kane, but all of them. Day 26, the band, like being blackballed. Freddie P talking about he received threats from Diddy, stuff like that, being scared for his life. And one of the rules to this whole thing is like, it's easy for people to say, you know, I'd have fucked them up or I'll do this and that. But people with money move a lot way more different. They damn near move like the mob, and they instill that fear in your head to let you know what they can do without actually physically doing things to you. So it puts people in a fear scenario, which brings me to Danny D. Kane and Aubrey O'Day. So we're going to play just a little bit of this.
This is with Danny D. Kane singer Aubrey O'Day, who in an emotional scene reads an affidavit from a woman saying she walked in on O'Day being assaulted by Combs and another man in 2005.
You realize the burden that puts on my soul for the past year, the weight of that man and his I will never get up from under it.
Stapleton says O'Day.
And that's what I'm saying. Like right there, it was like in that documentary talking about her being sexually assaulted, her saying that she didn't remember, which I know can be a thing once you're drugged or stuff like that. I'm not laughing on that. I instantly thought about the Bill Cosby scenario of just drugging them and then taking advantage of that scenario. And I was like, wow, you know, man, this dude is just really, really out there. And we haven't even got to the Cassie scenario and things that was going on with that. And then even now going to Kurt Burrow, who was a co-founder, and he had 25% stake in Bad Boy, and Puffy needed money and made him sign over his stake, pretty much extorting it from him. And this man went homeless. He took advantage of him and even said that he sexually assaulted him. Then that brings me over to Lil Rod, where he helped produce the whole Love album. Didn't get paid for it, was promised money, was sending him messages when he wasn't really talking to him, and even making statements like he was partying with him, waking up some days he was in the bed with women, and then some other days Diddy was in the bed with him, not knowing why he was hurting. And I took it, he was saying anally hurt. You know, there's no other way to say that. You will say you wake up and you like, you know, you don't even know why you sore. Well, there's only one thing that can be sore. So I'm like, you know, is that scenario. So, and then just the phone calls that was, you know, being made, like that, it was real crazy. I mean, this is a wild documentary, man. So I definitely suggest y'all go watch this documentary, because it is very, very entertaining. And sad too, and it kind of shows you the inside out. I know he sent that this cease and desist letter saying, like, you know, it's portraying him in a way of, who wouldn't want to stop this? Because the arrogance of somebody to actually film themselves doing this, and I understand that he's Diddy and you know, he rolls around with cameras and always putting on a show, but it kind of gave you the backstory of the view of actually who he is as a person. So you might have an idea. And I always say, like, you know, anybody you don't want to meet, you do not want to meet your favorite celebrity, because if they're a favorite of yours, you're probably more than likely going to be disappointed because they're nothing like, you know, they portray or how they seem. And And I think that's what they showed it. Even when he went to Harlem and he was hugging the people, putting on their jacket and stuff like that, I thought that was diabolical. And he gets in the car and he's like, man, I need to wash up, man. I'm down here with the people. I got to get these germs off of me. I was like, this dude like is a piece of work. The Don Richard lawsuit, when that one came in, and then he actually called Kalina, and then that whole conversation where she was saying she was in the middle of something, going through a custody battle with her child, and she asked him Diddy for like $5,000. He's saying he couldn't do it, but then turned around and then asked her for a statement against Don, and she was like, even though she said, you know, that's fucked up, I know for a fact she didn't say he was fucked up. She was probably thinking that, but there's no way that I thought that she said that to him. And I felt like, just looking at the documentary and looking at her the responses, she was very careful on what she said. She did release a statement saying that she couldn't recollect everything. So she was someone that was still loyal to Diddy. Don't know why, especially for someone who wouldn't even help you at that time. But I guess two wrongs don't make a right. So you can judge that however you want to judge it. And yeah, man, because I just wanted to kind of cover all those things. And Mark Curry, obviously, like, he was crying at the end of this, and I was like, man, you know, you talk about karma, of just the things of how he was messed over. They even talked about Craig Mack, who said that he never received a check and they was broke. His wife was saying they was borrowing money from him, and then obviously, you know, he wanted to sign to Death Row East when they was making, but after that murder with Tupac and everything, that didn't go through. And yeah, man, this is like a real interesting documentary. And of course, they're gonna end, not end, but you know, talk about the Cassie scenario, and they talk to the two juror members of how they viewed the case. But this was something really to check out, man. I kind of wanted to deep dive into this a little bit more than I actually do, so I can give y'all like a play. But go check this out. It's a real interesting documentary, The Reckoning. Something worth checking out, man. You know what I'm saying? But hey, it's your boy 51 Spade, man. I wanted to give y'all my thoughts and my feedback about what was going on with this Reckoning after I watched all of the parts of the series. If you're new to the channel, man, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I sincerely would appreciate it. Help the community grow, man. And yeah, until next time, we signing out. 51 Spade. Peace.